Welcome guys, this is Daniel Goodson, the language learner. If you are not an English learner, I recommend you to go to the regular episode number 61, which is called Corona Overkill. Yeah, that's a name. In which I explain how I screwed up. And this here is meant to be episode 61 B, and it is connected to the regular episode. Just here I want to give some more explanations to a few expressions and vocabulary. So it's basically meant for our English learners. So let's get it started. So first off, I have to mention that you absolutely need to listen to the regular episode 61 Corona Overkill first. Here I give more explanations to a few words I used over there. And you can use the subtitles to support you while learning English. So you'll find the full transcript in my show notes or on myfluentpodcast.com. I found a website, actually it's the Merriam-Webster website, in which they have set up a guide to coronavirus related words. And they help you deciphering the terminology you're likely to hear. Deciphering in the sense of giving you further explanations. And deciphering is usually used in the context of cracking a code, for example. So basically, this list is kind of a shortcut of what I wanted to reach with my project I had in mind, which I explain on episode 61. In a nutshell, I wanted to come across similar expressions again and again and learn them, and all related to the coronavirus. The guys from Merriam-Webster, in a way, they have done it for you. Now I'm gonna give you some of the expressions they have in their list. For instance, there are the words epidemic, pandemic,
outbreak, community spread, contact tracing,
martial law, self-quarantine, index case, superspreader, isolation and self-isolation, contagious and infectious. Let's dive into the details. So first off, the term social distance, which I mentioned in this episode too.
Social distancing will be with us through the summer to really ensure that we protect one another as we move through these phases.
So in modern use, the term is more often encountered with the meaning of the avoidance of another word for prevention or evasion, with the meaning of the avoidance of close contact with other people during the outbreak of a contagious disease. That means spreading disease. In order to minimize exposure and reduce the transmission of infection. The practice of maintaining a greater than usual physical distance from other people is referred to as social distancing, and this is in use since 2003. The verb is socially distance. Well, that explanation from Merriam-Webster was kind of complicated, wasn't it? Let's try to make it a bit easier. I'm gonna throw in some little short audio bits from the regular episode, and then I'm gonna give you more explanations. Let's hit it. This time I totally screwed up though. Another word for screw up is to mess up. Screw up means to make a big mistake, to mishandle or ruin something.
If you are going to try something hard, if you're putting yourself out there in some way, there are going to be times where you screw up or you don't succeed. Or there are times where you do everything right and you still don't succeed.
Did you recognize the man speaking? Yes, exactly. This was the ex-president Obama. So the next one. And this is a setback for me and had a negative influence on my language learning motivation. A setback is an interruption in progress.
There's also no question that Guantanamo set back the moral authority that is America's strongest currency in the world.
So the next one. So number 1, always set yourself smart goals. So in this one I wanna give specific information what I mean by smart goals. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and last but not least, time-oriented. So the next audio bite, we should see the positive things. And this is something I need to bear in mind always. So bear in mind is to be mindful of something, to keep in mind, or I could just have said I should recall that, because that is something that I struggle a lot too. I oftentimes see the negative things, which is no good. So the next one is a great one, actually. I have totally screwed up. Anyway, I will pull myself together now and just talk about it.
Hey buddy, you need to pull yourself together.
Pull yourself together.
To pull myself together or pull yourself together, a synonym could be to regain self-control, to recover control of one's emotions. And let's head to the next one. I published an episode about the topic vocabulary retention. Well, in my opinion, this is one of the most important topics when it comes to learning a language. So retention is basically the act of retaining, the state of being retained, the ability to retain things in mind. So I could just have said that I wanted to remember vocabulary, to make the vocabulary stick in my brain and never forget about it. So guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. That's it for today. Even though I have a lot of more vocabulary I wanted to cover, but I don't want to overwhelm you. It's no good. And this was the first time I did such a thing. Podcast episode B, only for English learners. So if you have any suggestions or tips for me, just send me a message. I am on Instagram with the name My Fluent Podcast. My Fluent Podcast is on Stitcher, iTunes, Podchaser, and all the known podcast services. So don't forget to subscribe. Have a good one. Bye.